There we go. So that when I schedule to do things, do my lives, it can be around the perimeters of my work from home job. And I also do brows and lashes, that by appointment only. So I have to try to make sure it's within those time frames, so that nothing ends up running over and basically making me late, right? Okay. So um most of the lives that I schedule are going to be in this time frame, early afternoon. I'm thinking 3 o'clock is going to work the best, right? So let's see if me and Isaiah, housewives from a housewife, if we're gonna kind of switch that up just a small little bit and move to 3 o'clock, just because that might work better for both of us. Anyway, I am on today finally to discuss Love and Mirror Huntsville. Now, let me tell y'all, I watched Love and Mirror Huntsville on Saturday. I usually have to watch the shows at least twice, sometimes three times, because it just depends on what's going on the first time I watch it. Like the first time I watch shows, it may be in the middle of it might be in the middle of the day, maybe late at night while I'm sleepy, or like even if I watch something when it's airing, depending on how the day went, I could probably just be doing something else, preoccupied. I might be cooking, I might be, like cleaning up or in the middle of doing some laundry, something like that, where I'm not exactly paying a great amount of attention. So I like to go back and watch it a second time when I have more time. And that's why I say, and sometimes it's a third time. Like this week's episode, I did end up watching three times. Just because oddly enough, they played a couple clips during this last episode that, took me back. I wanted a little nostalgia. So it took me back to where I have gone back and started watching the beginning seasons of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Oddly enough, there are not many shows that I go and do this with. Is I do it more with sitcoms, not necessarily reality shows. I've watched Real Housewives of Atlanta. Went back and rewatched those episodes plenty of times. Except for season 7. I don't like that season. So I'll skip right over that one. That's the one with Claudia on it. But anyway, which reminds me of as I'm watching Love and Marriage Huntsville. So I'm at the beginning of season 2. Destiny is being introduced. But I'm already thinking about the fact that I might not go any further. We'll have to see because the Whitfields are coming up and they were pretty exhausting to watch during their stint on Love and Marriage Huntsville. So I thought about that last night, like, oh God, like I go through that again. But anyway, let's get into this week's episode. I took me some notes too this time, so we can follow through really quick. Now, it's been a lot of drama outside of the show going on. I noticed everybody's talking about it. I have to tell y'all something just to be very clear and transparent. I don't really follow a lot of the little um fodder that follows Ariane. And the reason why I don't is because I think I just respect. I'm gonna say I respect the game, right? I respect the game in the sense of if she's not able to be introduced to the show, and if she's not able to kind of make a way in that way, I'm not gonna listen to none of this stuff she, spew out when she on some random person's podcast, whoever will have her. Because it's even with that, it's kind of like we don't see a big blogger like getting in touch with Ariana. It feels like it's always these kind of like sketchy bloggers. And I think this person, whoever recorded her during an interview, I haven't heard any of the recordings, but apparently people seem to think she's spilling tea. I don't think that she is. I think everything that she's spilling, we have already seen. And if you pay enough attention, you could have put it together yourself. You didn't really need anybody to record her saying a lot of the things that she said. Anyway, let's get into the episode because that's what we're here for right now. All right, so the episode opens up with Nell and Chris Fletcher talking. They are out to eat like a little pizza restaurant, and basically they are talking about the conversation that was had at Martell's open house. Remember last week I told y'all that conversation was very uncomfortable and it looked like Chris was going to get himself in some trouble. Martell knew that Chris was going to get himself in some trouble, and they even flashed back to when they came up in the bowling alley. So here's the thing. There was a different conversation that happened between Chris and Martell. And it probably was something that Chris knows his wife would not appreciate, right? But I'm guessing nobody expected Trish to be on the show. And that is why it's even that much more uncomfortable because it sounds like, so again, let's go. Nell and Chris are talking in the pizza place. And basically, Nell is like really questioning Chris point blank period to say, like, what, like, is this something that y'all do? Like, y'all, what does she call it? Y'all were oh God, she called it something like hunting. Oh, I can't think of the word she used. That sucks. I should have wrote that down. But yeah, she like y'all were pigeon hunting, like tough or whatever. What I call it, pigeon hunting. um, Scavenging. That's what she called it. Scavenger hunting. That is what she called it. Scavenger hunting. And I think that is pretty accurate. But that's just say y'all was scavenger hunting real tough. Like, is that what y'all do? Because that is the idea that I got too. I got that all the men in the room understood the conversation, and even with him trying to clean it up for his wife, right? But anyway, Chris is basically assuring Nell that it was nothing more than Martell inquiring if there were any ladies in that come to the gym, and he just casually said yes. Like, of course, there are women that come to the gym. Do any of them look good? Well, this particular lady I'm looking at right here looks good. I agree with Nell. He said I gave him her last name. I'm not sure how he found her. Well, how you don't know this lady? How you know her last name? Now, I understand when you in certain environments, maybe people refer to people by their last name. And Trish could be one of those people, considering she had been in the military. That to me is the way military people speak too. I feel like sports speak that way. When you've been a part of sports teams for a long amount of time, you'll notice that they call each other by their last names. And then military, like Tibbs or whatever it is, like they're gonna refer to each other or refer to people by their last name. So that actually makes sense that he would know her last name before knowing the first name. However, he explained that he knew her last name because his mother, like, that's how he goes into, well, she's related to me, even though I don't really know her, about on my mother's side, woo, woo, woo. This is when it gets stranger. You see how I just explained a reason for him knowing her last name and not knowing her first name, and it made much more, better sense than what he said. Like, what he said sounds like you knew exactly who you was talking about. Now also wanted to address the time frame. And that makes sense too for Neil. And all of this makes sense. Neil is not overreacting. I would definitely want to confront my husband about how it is you're viewing a woman that you're able to go and push off to one of your friends, right? Single, whatever. And then the next thing is, if this is a friend who we have counseled him and his ex-wife, and now it's coming out that you hooked him up with somebody. Like, I can't believe you would be hooking him up with somebody while we sitting at home trying to counsel him and his wife. Like, what's going on with this? So, that was pretty much what she wanted to get out the way. Chris said that they were definitely, now he didn't say divorce, he said they were definitely separated. Nah, I feel like with the situation that they went to, and especially since I just revisited these episodes and it's really fresh what happened in my mind, it doesn't seem like there was ever a point in time in which Martell was only separated and not divorced, right? In which there would have been an opportunity for him to be dating somebody else. Now, Mel did seem to be separated from him for some time, but he spent a lot of time pretty much trying to get in Mel's good graces, which is how they ended up staying together so long after the whole information about him cheating on her came out. Um, but I digress, okay? It's for the show, and part of what I'm gonna do, or what I do on my lives, is I'm gonna say that ain't nobody else gonna say. I'm gonna say the stuff that I see when it's in production, or I'm gonna just pull out the stuff that I remember, you know. And sometimes I think a lot of bloggers like to follow the drama. I'm okay with the drama. I'm okay with following the drama, but I'm also gonna put drama in its place. Okay, so if you want the real tea, you come over here. Now next we see Mel go into the Credit One offices to meet with Maurice. We know Mel and Maurice had a previous conversation. Maurice is not all that happy with Mel about her going around suggesting that he possibly was with some other lady. And that's how he, well, not that's how he ended up with the DUI, but basically he had the DUI and he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be during this time frame, which is what Mel is suggesting. um Kimmy has already kind of said, without telling the rest of the cast, she said it to Trish. So apparently, whenever Maurice got this DUI, he had just left from Trish, Ken, and Kimmy. Like they had possibly went out to lunch, it sounds like, and had a few drinks while they were out. And so that's what it sounds like. That's when he caught that DUI. Seems like Kimmy is aware of that. So that's another reason why she's not letting this innuendo that Mel is putting out get to her. But what I do agree, Maurice and Kimmy, I said it last week and I'm gonna say it every time, they really do have a great way of communicating. At least it looks that way to me. And they have a good way of getting out what they want to get out, and also without offending people, you know. And that's a pretty good trait. So I agree with Maurice when he sat Martell down and, you know, kind of talked to him about his approach to things. And the same with Mel, you know. So this is where I think he called Mel to the office so he could sit down and talk to Mel, because he feels kind of similar that a lot of what Mel is projecting onto everybody else is the stuff that she's still feeling and harboring. It's kind of like what's the saying? Like you cut, when you get cut, you bleed all over everybody else. You know what I mean? That's kind of, and I 1000% agree with Maurice about it. I remember when the show first came on, I was indifferent about Mel. And of course, up until she went through this whole ordeal with Martell, at that point, as a woman to woman, of course, I had empathy and sympathy for her both, with what she was going through. The fact that, I mean, nothing, she got pregnant, had a new baby, thought her marriage was, you know, turning around. And here it is. He was doing the very same thing, you know, again, but now it's gone to a 10th power, in which now there's another child coming into the mix and not from her, you know. And so I could only imagine how devastating that particular situation would be for a female, and a female with all kind of hormones going on. So rightfully so, you know, we supported Mel through that. However, Mel has come out on top, right? Mel has what they call it bossed up. I think Ariane is running around spewing that right now. She has noticed that, you know, Mel has bossed up. And it is very clear at this point who the brains, was of the operation. It's like brains and brawny. I guess that seems to be what Martell brought. And then when you kind of know a little bit more about their story, like the fact that he had dropped out of college and Mel paid for him to go back, it seemed to be that Mel had always been the go-getter. And so as long as you were associated and attached to Mel and going in the same direction, the success was going to come either way, which is why we see it going the way we do anyhow. Now, I'm not calling Martell like slow or dumb, but what I am saying is clearly he needed a male, and I know he kicked himself in the tail every single day. But he also gives me the fact that he kind of needs somebody like the person he happens to be spending his time with now, because that's the person he can control. Like he was not able to control Mel, and make her do the things he wanted her to do the way he wanted her to do them. Anyway, this is not about them. This I was just explaining why I do agree with Maurice that ever since this has happened to Mel, ever since Martell has threw out there that he didn't start cheating until he was hanging around other men who basically he saw them cheating and going back home to their wives. So he decided he would do the same thing. He's also said that, his mistake was getting a girlfriend. And so I'm gonna say this real quick too, with Maurice taking the time out to talk to both Mel and Martell. I think it's two things because two things can be true at the same time. I do feel like they understand that Mel has the authority to make this all go away. Or at least they probably believe that, right? Because she is part of the creation and the executive producer. And I don't think that's a vanity title for her. I think that that's a title that she went in demanding and everything that comes along with it, as opposed to it just being a vanity title. And so part of this is why they know that they're trying to keep her on board. But I think I've already said it. I think I said it weeks before. Is that Mel is out, and the writing is all over the wall. Mel is out. Anyway, back to this meeting Maurice and Mel had. So during the conversation, it feels like Mel gets a little triggered because Maurice suggests that maybe she's not happy. So he asks, was she really happy? And so she kind of does her Mel thing like, am I happy? Like, am I happy? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you wouldn't know, you don't know me enough to know if I'm happy. Like, you don't know this Mel, XYZ. It felt a little triggering, but I understood where she was coming from. But again, I understand where he coming from, because what he's saying is you seem to have this vitriol to prove that somebody else's husband is cheating, and it looks haterish. The reason why it looks haterish is because these were not people that was going out of their way to throw what was going on with you in your face. She may not like how they handled the things that was happening. And some of that was her fault because she was treating the people bad also. However, Mel is the only one that each and every time, like I say, ever since Martell brought that up about the 20 girlfriends and um about them, the group of men cheating, or the suggestion that they do, Mel has been on top of it, on Tisha's head, about trying to find out if Marcel was cheating on her. And so Maurice is just basically playing his role. And it looks like he's trying to keep everything in the can, right? As opposed to spilling all out everywhere. He tried to keep everybody contained. And so we're gonna give him big ups for that. Mel makes it clear that anybody who has relationships with Martell should probably forego any expectation that they will have a relationship with her. Because during the conversation, Maurice mentions that he spoke with Martell. So Mel decided at that moment, to make it clear to Maurice, basically reiterating the fact that, as she told him, he doesn't know this version of Mel. And so if he wanted to get to know her, it, you can't have this close friendship with Martell. That's what it sounded like in the nutshell. While Maurice was trying to use those same points to get her to see her behavior, he kind of just validated a little bit of what she's going through. I would agree with her, and I would agree with that concept. You don't, the same way whoever, whatever this Martell is that's running around, running amok, doing what he doing, they don't know each other. And so she's right to say to Maurice, like, you don't even know this version. Like, Melody Holt, you don't know Melody Rogers. And so this is somebody you would have to get to know. And you won't be able to get to know her if you keep a relationship with Martell. Now, is that seeming a little bitter? I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm okay with Mel having that stance, but this is the reason why it puts the show in jeopardy, right? Because I already explained, Mel really at this point doesn't have anybody to film with, so you can't be a part of an ensemble cast and you don't have anybody to film with. Anyway, let's move on. Oh yeah, let's go back. Let's go back. Like I say, they made it clear. She made it clear that any relationship with Martell would forego a relationship with her. And then they were able to apologize to each other. Um, Maurice simply asked Mel, was there anything that he had done that made her unhappy from his actions? And so she said, well, yeah, when I was going through things, you would smirk and kind of laugh at things that I didn't think was funny. He immediately apologized. He didn't waste any time trying to explain why he did something. He didn't waste any time trying to go back and say, but you had did this, and when he said that, it was just funny to me and I didn't mean it. He didn't bother to do any of that. He just simply said, well, I apologize because I didn't mean to offend you, like, period. Again, I love Maurice and Kimmy's communication. That in turn opened up Mel for her to apologize for any feelings that Maurice had. So they left it there, nice, cute, and simple. Then we move on. To a Mexican restaurant where Marceau meets up with Chris Fletcher and, oh my God, Marquez. Oh, he is so exhausting. So they discussed his Marquez's actions at the party. Okay, the party that Trish and Ken threw for Marquez and Trish's children. Um, During that conversation, um, Marceau just pretty much, called Marquez out. Marquez spends a lot of time explaining why he is behaving the way he does. So he wants everybody to understand. He kind of is like a Martell 2.0. But he wants everybody to understand whatever dynamics, happen between Trish and Ken, and why he doesn't want to see Ken with his children and taking his children back and forth, which is the oddest thing to me, because it's like, well, if you don't want another man doing it, then it seems like you need to put yourself in position so that you're doing it, which basically is the point that Marceau wants him to get, has tried to get him to get more than once. But he just put it out to him plain and simple. He's like, basically, you told me that you left your house trying to take a break. If you was trying to take a break, then that means you planned on going back. You couldn't go back because once you took this break, um, she ended up dating Ken. And so when you decided that you was gonna go back, somebody in your spot. And so now you mad. Like, And in the end of at the end of the day, like Marcel told him, if you wanted your family, then you shouldn't have walked away from it. And I like this is why I like Marceau. I have always liked Marceau. Now, this second season is I'm getting reminded that he did have some stenches of comments to Tisha that were not all that didn't go over well. But even then, I understood what he was saying to Tisha. He just doesn't have a soft tongue. But what it is about him, and when I say he doesn't have a soft tongue, he's not, in my opinion, he's not necessarily mean, but he can be cold about what he's saying or as a matter of fact. That's what it is. And sometimes when you're talking to somebody who's really kind of passionate and emotional about what they're talking about, it's kind of hard to be as a matter of fact with them because they're looking for a little bit of emotion and understanding. And so I think that's what Marcel kind of lacked in those conversations with his wife. But what he was saying, the things he was saying, every time Marcel opens his mouth, he speaks nothing but like facts and sense. Like he's not like blowing smoke up anybody's tail. Um, and I feel like anytime somebody is straight up with you about what they're saying, I don't know how you can have a problem with them. Um, that seems that seemed ridiculous that you would find a way to have a problem with somebody who's just telling you like a TI is, okay, like it or not. And so that's what he said to Marquez, like this is it, like it or not. You can admit it or you can keep running around trying to convince somebody that somehow Trish and Ken did something to you and put you in this position and this is the reason why you act that way, but nobody's buying it. And Chris had to second that because it is true. We can all see it. You can tell us you don't love this girl or you're not in love with her until sun till the day is long. But your actions are saying something else. And everything you saying out your mouth kind of add to that. You left your family, and it is what it is. So that's why I say he's Martell 2.0 because he doesn't want to accept any responsibility. Same as Martell blames everybody. Next everybody meets up at Mimosas with Mel, and when I say everybody, the crew includes Trish and Ken, Sunni without the Moses because Moses is currently incarcerated. Well, funny he is currently incarcerated, but clearly he got incarcerated. They found out quick, it sounds like. So he was incarcerated at the time of filming. Nell and Chris Fletcher, Marceau without Tisha. Tisha's out of town hanging out with Wanda. We did not get to see Wanda. They have put Wanda on ice for the show, and rightfully so. She was causing a whole lot of drama. And Maurice and Kimmy was there. And I did notice that Destiny was not in attendance, which we know Mel and Destiny have fallen out, but she seemed like she was open to everybody else. But, hey, Destiny was not there. Marquez shows up. So she invited him also. Marquez shows up and makes it awkward yet again for everybody involved. And now this is it's almost like the Mia Gordon and Ink storyline, even though what they have is not as salacious, but it still seems like they take these opportunities, and maybe that's what they should think about when it comes to Marquez. They take these opportunities to just really kind of make him sound like a deadbeat. So like I say, he comes to the table, he speaks to everybody, he's very eager to be on television and to be a part of the cast. So he comes over and speaks to everyone. um and Ken really don't want to put his hands up. He got his phone in his hand, fumbling with his phone. He's trying to do something. Well, we find out when Marquez leaves the table, we find out that for whatever reason, the Trisha's kids is needing some money, and Ken is having a hard time, um, getting doing sending the money. Like they having bad reception. So he's having a hard time sending the money. Hold on. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, So let me see, where was I at? Oh, talking about Marquez, and Trish. And so yeah, all three of them, they don't well, we already know that they are filming next season, and so we are gonna see them again. But hopefully maybe all three of them are in a better space, and maybe it doesn't have to be let me show how horrible of a dad he is. Let me, take every opportunity to point it out and to say something. But at that time at the dinner table, Maurice and Kimmy were at the table with Trish and Ken. And so Ken just happened to say, well, I'm trying to send money to his kids right now. And, like basically, no, he's not making an effort with his kids. And here's the thing, I do believe that because Marquez does seem to be very much more interested in forming bonds with the cast. Because that's the only time we see him is with another castmate. We don't see him coming into town going to pick up his kids, which go back to when he was leaving the restaurant with Chris and Marceau. He kind of abruptly, says, well, I'm about to go see the kids. And I'm thinking, that's a bald faced lie. Like I feel like he only said it just because what else is he going to tell them after they came and scolded you about, walking out on your kids, basically. At the same time, he brought a bouquet of flowers so he can give it to Mel, as if Mel wants anything to do with him. Um, and so he does him. Mel meets up with Marceau. So they run into each other outside of on the step and repeat outside of the in the main room. And Marceau is telling Mel, kind of giving her a little crap, little grief about her Melometers loving the Marsaulders. He said, you got a couple Marsaulders in there, which that's where the Melometers versus Marsaulders come from. And of course, Marquez takes to his Instagram and kind of makes up a Markellendy, something like that, like a name that's put together as if him and Mel were together. Um, Marquez needs to get him some business for real, and he definitely should know that Mel is way out of his league. But anyway, that was kind of cute, little fun banter. I feel like Marcel and Mel kind of have that with each other, usually all the time, if as long as it doesn't go too far. Everybody kind of asks Sunny, "Where's Moses?" Sunny says, "Well, he's a little obtained or predisposed, I think is what she called it." And so of course everybody knows what that means, that he's in jail, which another thing should also solidify the thirst level that both of them have had, was willing to do to be on that show. Like, that's ridiculous. So yeah, we're not going to see Moses or Sunny next season. I do know that. I think again she's waiting on her contract to run out, so that she can speak about whatever it is she want to speak for. Like, I guess she feel like she has some extra tea, because she was a producer, but it's so old and stale. I feel like she can keep it to herself, but we'll see whatever it is she has to say. Neil and Chris invites everyone to their vow renewal. Marceau jokes with Neil, telling her that she's the friend nobody can trust. Nobody trusts because, like, I guess because she's kind of um vocal about who she thinks attractive or different things like that, which her husband talked about that at the top of the show because he kind of called her out on that same thing. Like, well, you say different things. So anyhow, so yeah, he said, "You the friend the husbands don't trust." And it's like, one thing about it, there is something going on between the men on the show. And there is something. Martell 1000% knows something. And it definitely, we don't know if it's about 20 women, but there is something he know at least about one. He clearly doesn't know this person's name or anything, but it's something that he know, and it's about at least one person. And they've spent a lot of years trying to keep the lid on. Even though I think Marceau trusts that his wife trusts him enough that at this point there wouldn't be anything Martell could say that he would have to have proof to back it up, right? At this point, nobody's really going to take Martell at face value just because he is unhinged at times. And he kind of seems like he has that same vendetta to just kind of see somebody in the same place as him. So it would be easy to basically ignore anything that he said. And I think that that's where Marceau sits in this comfortable spot, kind of knowing that no matter what Martell tries to say at this point, like, nobody's about to take him serious. And so, like I said, Nell and Chris invite everyone to their vow renewal. And then the next thing we see, Nell and her girls go to the bridal shop. She's going to try on dresses. She invites Mel to come and meet her there. They have a talk about Mel being a little upset, or excuse me, Nell being upset with Melody about basically what she feels was discrediting her. She told her that, she has sat at her house many a days, spent nights while her mom was sick and on her deathbed, and she spent time with her, counseling her. They keep using the term mentoring, and sound it's at the core of it. That is the thing that really upset Nell, is that Mel basically, downplayed Nell's role in the mentoring. I use that with quotation marks because I think that counsel probably is a better word, and that may be why Mel was not receptive of using the term counsel. I mean, excuse me, mentor with her, because I believe Mel feels like what she was doing, what she was already kind of there. And as a matter of fact, probably thinking like, hey, you on the platform, I created and brought you on. So I'm not sure that you mentor. So it seemed to be that mentor is the word that we want to say. Maybe it's not being used properly, but I did like that Neil was able to explain to her how she felt, that her feelings was hurt, and Mel was able to receive it. Mel was told her that, and it was the cutest thing, because she said, I can't believe you've been sitting here, feeling that way all this time. Like, you could have had your apology, 7 weeks ago. All you had to do was let me know. And so what that I loved about that was, I always like when you know that you have a relationship or a friendship with somebody, and it doesn't take you a lot to just get to the core of something, or get to it. Like, the whole thing that people do, spending a lot of time defending actions as opposed to just hearing what a person is saying to you, because I don't think the reason generally changes how a person feel. You like, they feel how they do when you done something, and the reason why you did it doesn't change it at all. It's like, you still did it and I'm still hurt. Like, doesn't really matter. So I appreciate that with Neil, she took that approach with her, and basically, made her feel comfortable with saying, hey, something happened, tell me right then, so I can make sure you right. Because like she said, I didn't want you feeling this way for this amount of time. So she gave her a sincere apology. They were able to hug it out, and it was a great episode overall. So we do see a couple clips for next week. It looks like Marceau and Martell is about to hit the fan. In my opinion, Marceau is just continuing to repeat the very thing he's repeated from the beginning. I actually do have a clip in which Marceau, in the very first episode, is making a statement that, of course, he doesn't want to be like Martell. Like he didn't compare himself to him, kind of that type of deal. And so in this clip that we see for next week, you hear Marceau telling Martell that he's a better man than him. Then let's go to that statement. I think that Marceau most certainly believes that, but most certainly he believes it not because his head big. I think he just believes it based off the choices that he made. Now clearly Martell knows something that this man has done, because it is sitting on the edge of his tongue, and he's trying to figure out a way to not break boy code, because whatever the code is, because whatever it is that he is privy to, he's not the only one privy to it. And if he breaks that trust, or breaks that, get that information out, he's breaking some type of pact with other people too. Like, it's not just Marceau, that's is going to be a lot of other damage in that, which is why I think Martell has truly held on to it. But there is clearly something that is like just sitting at the base of his voice box, and it is like jumping, like can't wait to get out. But there's some reason why it hasn't gotten out yet, and it's got to have something to do with the collateral damage of it all. It can't just be effective to Marceau for him to be holding it like that. But it seemed like it's getting close to coming out. Or he keeps threatening Marceau with it, and Marceau is calling this bluff. So we're gonna see how it goes. As for the future of the show, um, like I say, I know Ariana is trending right now. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say she's trending, but Love and Marriage Huntsville is trending because of the Ariana things that's being leaked out about an interview Ariana did. I do have a couple of notes about that. I do have a video, but I'll have to pop back on another time to get that out, because I'm not going to be able to finish it in this live. Um What else? Like I said, my predictions for next year is, again, we know that they are filming. So Love and Marriage Huntsville is currently filming. This is the buzz that everybody seemed to just pick up on, is Carlos King and Melody are not following each other. I'm telling y'all, I said it months ago. I'll go back to my podcast and I'll go pull the very clip in which I said Mel is not coming back this next season. And like I said, the writing is on the wall that she won't. But so like I said, it's been trending. Mel is not following Carlos. We know that they are filming. It has not only been confirmed by Carlos on his live, but it was also confirmed by Marquez in his interview with Millie Chan. So he stated that they are filming. They are currently filming. The fact that Mel, so what I'm gonna say is Mel possibly did start off filming, but I know, and if I think about it, I'll tell you when I remember. There is something that took place in which I know Mel probably for sure is not speaking to Carlos in the friendly manner that they had been speaking to each other, because I think what she noticed is that, like Hollywood, like, I mean, you get into this business and I think you get burned by the business. I don't think there is any clean way to come in and get out and be unscathed, and all of your relationships be unscathed, even the ones that, like the Carlos King, the one that introduced you to this platform and helped you get your notoriety and get this show off the ground. Even that, I think it is hard to keep that relationship unscathed in this business, because eventually he's going to approve something, be a part of something in some way, be associated with some type of change that you don't agree with. And because you feel like y'all friends, that's the first thing on the chopping block, is the friendship. So them not following each other, understandable. Um, like I said, I know Sunni and Moses is not on. Destiny does not need to return. Destiny didn't have a storyline prior to Sunni and Moses. She didn't get one with Sunni and Moses. And the only thing anybody, even though it's been so long now that we really don't care, but the only thing anything anybody would be interested in when it comes to Destiny is what happened to that marriage. Yeah, we like, that's the only thing we really want to know. But the other stuff you can kind of keep to yourself. So I'm almost certain that she is not filming. At this point in time, she won't be back. And I think everybody else is probably the same, right? So that's all I got for y'all. Okay, I had to jump on here because I got to try to be consistent. I apologize, I had to push it back, but make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notification so you can be notified when it's another video. And just in case I do have to push things back, you subscribe to the channel so I can make posts about it and you can know what's going on. All right, until next time, enjoy. Happy Tuesday.